That Metal Interview.
Formed in 1974, a band by the name of Raven from the great country of England, Great Britain, that is. 1974, the Gallagher Bros, John and Mark, formed this band. I believe they're on album number 15, if I am correct. Correct me if I'm not. Metal City is the name of their latest effort and album. Very, very good stuff. Very, very awesome, straightforward heavy metal for all of you metalheads out there. And I had the pleasure to speak to vocalist, bassist John Gallagher of Raven. And so let's check it out. Enjoy. Congrats on Metal City. Kick-ass stuff, top to bottom. Talk to us about this album, the making and all that.
Yeah, well, it was quite a long, drawn-out process. Much longer than we wanted it to be, but, events took hold. The first event that slowed us down was the previous album, Extermination, did very well for us, and we did an awful lot of touring. And the touring for that was starting to wind down a bit, and we could see, the light at the end of the tunnel when we would have time to start doing a new record, which would be, I guess, the fall of 2017.
Okay.
And we had a bunch of dates set up, and then our drummer, Joe Hasselvander, had a heart attack.
Oh, wow.
And we had 2 days grace to scrabble and get some guys to fill in because it was, way too close to cancel these shows, and we wanted to do them. And, really there was a bunch of stuff going on behind the scenes that basically Joe was done. He didn't really want to be out on the road all the time like we'd been. And, there was some issues there. So I guess somebody up above just kind of took him out of the equation. We were freaking out because, thank God it happened where he did, because he was near a hospital.
Wow.
He was literally 2 or 3 minutes from a hospital. So, he had one of these 90% blocked arteries on his heart or whatever. But anyway, he'd said, he's bowing out, and we got these guys in, and we had like 4 shows in the States, and then we had a festival and a tour in Europe. And the first show, we got this guy in Chicago. We booked rehearsal time, so luckily we had 4 hours to work with him. And we did a show, and it was great. We got through it. And then we had 3 shows. We had Jersey, we had Baltimore and Delaware. And we had this guy, Mike Heller, who had been playing with Fear Factory and a whole bunch of crazy bands. And we met him in Jersey. We flew to Jersey. We get there, talk to the guy for half an hour, and we go and play a full show. And it was absolutely brilliant. And we just, all 3 of us were just looking at each other like, whoa, there's chemistry here,
Mike.
And he couldn't do the European stuff. We had other guys who did a great job filling in on that, but we had this connection with Mike, and we just said, once we get back, let's talk. So we talked, he was interested, he wanted in, and then I think that would have been June, and from June to December we did about 150 dates.
Wow.
Which was like insane. We did a very long American tour. We did a European tour, which is about 70 dates, which mainly was with Udo, the ex-singer from Accept, opening for him. Uh-huh. And in between, because he had so many days off, we stuck in like about another 25, 30 dates of our own in Europe. So somehow in between all that, Mike got to do drum tracks for the new record, because we'd already had all the songs written. But, his drum performances really kicked it up a notch to a different level, which was great. We had an abortive recording session then for guitars and bass, which didn't work out because of a disagreement with the engineer. We had to scrap it all. And we did the Monsters of Rock cruise in January of 2018, and our old friend Michael Wagner was on the ship. And we'd initially asked him just to mix the new record once we get it done, because, Mike was moving to Los Angeles and he was building a home studio there, and we were like, oh, we'll do it at Mike's place,
Yeah.
And get Michael Wagner to mix it. Well, Michael got in touch after the cruise and said, when do you think you'll have the recording? And we're like, well, I don't know, he's still working on the studio. He says, well, I've got kind of a medical thing. I've got to go in and get major surgery in April. And this was like, I guess, tail end of February when we were talking. And I said, well, the studio's not going to be ready till like July. He says, well, why don't you just come and do it here? So, like a day and a half later, we found ourselves in Nashville at Michael's studio.
Oh, wow.
And, the old gang was back together again, and we had a grand old time because we've done like 3 records with them before, and it was awesome. And we were able to, meet the challenge Mike had set up by doing those drum tracks, So it was great just bringing the songs fully to life there, and upping our game, and just had the greatest time, and locked it all together. Pretty much we knew which songs we wanted to do, so there wasn't a lot of time wasted recording a whole bunch of extra stuff. We did 11 songs. We knew we wanted a 10-song album.
Yeah.
And we did the one extra track for Japan, which is like a rock and roll track called Rock This Town, which was a lot of fun to do. It almost sounds like a live in the studio thing. But we wanted an album that wasn't too long, because we felt that was possibly the only fault we had on the album before, where that was like, verging into double album territory. And we wanted something that, you put on, you listen to it, you rock out, you get into it, and you want to put it on again. It's got that kind of impact.
Yep.
That's really what we were going for.
Awesome. Yeah.
And we did a mix, and we weren't particularly excited about it, so we decided to go outside, and we auditioned a whole bunch of people. And that took forever, and we had a great concept for the art, and that took forever. So and then, of course, the pandemic ran into it, so that's why it took 5 years.
5 years, wow. Talk about a bunch of delays, huh? Wow.
Yeah, I mean, really, it should have been, it should have been recorded at least and all done in 2017 and out in 2018, but that was not to be the case. We wanted it out earlier in 2020, and, these days you really want to tour with the record. You have the double-edged sword for the promotion, and it's all got to lock together. And we had some cool opening bands, and they couldn't make the schedule. And we're like, we've waited this long, let's put it back. And then literally a week later, the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
So, we'd set everything for it to come out in September, so we just stayed with that. And I think it worked out for us, because without any live music, people were hungry to hear any kind of music at all.
Yeah.
So, we definitely, and we had, so far we've done 3 videos and they've been really well received. And it's the best reaction we've had to an album since the first one. The press has been excellent. The fan response has been excellent. We know it's a great record. And for a band that's been around as long as we have, to come up with something this good, where it stands alongside the best work we've ever done. It's not that usual, it's a great record, blah, blah, blah. It really is.
Yeah.
It's a blockbuster, so we couldn't be happier.
Oh, yeah.
We can't tour at the moment. That's not good.
Hopefully you guys be on the road soon, but every track on there is badass, the Power, Top of the Mountain, Human Race, it's just it's worth the wait, to me,
Yeah, I mean, we were lucky in that we were very prolific on this one. We probably chose these songs out of like 40 songs that we had. We wrote a lot of songs, and they were good songs. So we had the opportunity to go, okay, we're going to have a 10-song album. What's the lead-off track? Which song do you think would be a killer start? And it was like, well, The Power. And there was 2 or 3 others, and we're like, let's go with The Power. And then, where would you go from there? Well, let's go, fast but old school. And the perfect song for that was Top of the Mountain, which really sounds like it's got its foot in the early albums, and it's also stretching forward into the future as well,
Yeah.
And then where do you go from there? And, we just plotted it out so that the sequencing was all set, pretty much,
Yeah. Now, when you guys said...
That's important.
Go ahead.
Sorry, that's important for us being, old school in that way, where you want to have an album that's got a bit of ebb and flow, tells a story, and you can listen to it all the way through.
It was organized perfectly, the sequence, so badass. When you guys sat down to write Metal City, I mean, was there a specific direction you want to go? I mean, did you guys say, you know what, let's make it sound like All for One, or like this or like that? Or do you guys just take off writing, or what do you do?
We basically just take off writing. I mean, obviously, one thing in the back of our heads is like, we want an album. We'd been working towards it. The last 2 albums before this, they Walk Through Fire was an album after a lot of, this was the first album back after my brother had a horrific accident in 2001.
That's right.
And it took about 9 years before that finally got together. Mm-hmm. So that was like, putting the flag in the sand. Okay, we're here, let's work our way forward from here, which we had. But we just took a quantum leap on this one. And you wanted to have an album, like I said, that stands with the, it stands with Rock Until You Drop, Wiped Out, All for One, have that kind of energy, but also show that we're not just resting on our laurels and, we're certainly not rewriting old shit, as it were,
Yeah.
We're going forward. There's a lot of, we're excited. It's a great time for the band. I mean, we're completely old farts here. We've been on this planet like freaking dinosaurs, but we deliver. We deliver live.
Yeah.
We deliver. We write decent songs. The good songs, and that's really where it comes from. The good songs, and that's your bedrock, and everything comes from that.
Yeah. Now take us back to the beginning of Raven. How did you and your brother start? And I'm a musician myself. Why the bass? Why the bass guitar? Why not the guitar, or vice versa? Your brother, how come he couldn't play bass? Or
we were as we were kids. The only music you saw was on. There was a show called Top of the Pops, which you may have heard of in England, which was all the top 20.
Yeah.
And in the early 70s, there was a lot of rock stuff. I mean, I remember seeing Black Sabbath and Deep Purple and Uriah Heep and Status Quo. And then, our band was Slade. They had so many hits, and they was such a great rock band. The Outrageous Image, all the glam bands like Sweets and T-Rex, and all had loud guitar. And we loved it and said, we want to do that. And it was weird because we didn't know anybody else who was doing that in our area. There was lots of bands in the northeast of England, but not in our street, you know what I mean? Or next street, or people we knew. So we literally formed a band and then bought instruments when we were able to bug our parents to get cheap electrics for Christmas, and played our first show at our school in December 1975. We formed the band about a year before that, and we went from there. There was me, my brother, and a guy down the street, Paul Bowden, who also played